Good morning, everyone. Meeting start time, 9:30, so we're actually doing extraordinarily well, and I would like to welcome you all to the 18th meeting of the 2018 Standards, Procedures and Public Appointments Committee. And we have apologies from two members, from Elaine Smith and from Mark Ruskell. However, hopefully they'll both be back next week. So hopefully everything's fine with them. And the first item on the agenda is decision on taking business in private. And our first item today will be for the committee to agree to take items 5 and 6 in private. Item 5 is made up of 2 complaint reports from the Commissioner for Ethical Standards in Public Life. And item 6 is a consideration of a draft report. And do members agree to take these items in private? Agreed. Thank you very much. Okay, item 2, we'll move on. Decision on taking business in private again, which is to decide to take future consideration of the reports from the Commissioner and the committee's draft reports on the complaints in private at a future meeting. Do members agree to take these in private? Thank you. Okay, first actual business of today, agenda item 3, and that relates to cross-party groups. And this is to take evidence on the proposed cross-party group on St Andrew's Day, and I'd like to welcome Tom Arthur, MSP, to the meeting. Tom is the convener of the proposed group, and I'd like to invite Tom to make an opening statement about the purpose of the group, please.
Thank you very much, Convener, and good morning to the committee. And may I say, having served in this committee for 2 years, it's a pleasure to be back here, and I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate you, Convener, on your appointment. By means of introduction of this proposed cross-party group, I would like to give a bit of background. Dennis Canavan, who was an independent MSP up until 2007, was able to secure unanimous support in Scottish Parliament for the passing of his St Andrew's Day Bank Holiday Bill, which became an Act at the beginning of 2007. This Act has made provisions for public bodies and businesses to recognise the 30th of November, or if the 30th of November falls on a weekend, the Monday following, as a public holiday. But it does not compel businesses or banks, for example, to recognise it as a bank holiday, but it gives that provision there in lieu of a local holiday. I was approached by Dennis Canavan, who has had a long-standing interest in this area and has been pioneering and spearheading efforts to get greater recognition of St Andrew's Day, both as a holiday and as a cultural event, through the St Andrew's Day Campaign Committee. And I was approached by Dennis shortly after summer recess. He had been working on establishing this cross-party group with Christina McKelvey, but however, Christina McKelvey was appointed as a minister before summer recess, and consequently I was asked by Christina and Dennis to take forward this cross-party group. We had our first meeting some weeks ago, which was well attended, and there was a great deal of enthusiasm and energy and clear cross-party interest, as is illustrated in the range of MSPs who have agreed to join the proposed cross-party group. The purpose of the group, as outlined, is firstly to promote the celebration of St Andrew's Day more generally, as Dennis Canavan has very eloquently stated many times in public. Unlike in other countries such as France, where Bastille Day seems a pivotal celebration, or in the United States, where Independence Day and Thanksgiving Day are seen as pivotal celebrations, or indeed closer to home in Ireland, where St Patrick's Day is, St Andrew's Day doesn't have the same, perhaps, status and recognition in Scotland as these other respective national holidays do in their home countries. So there's a clear aim and desire to promote St Andrew's Day as a public holiday, to encourage more businesses and public bodies to take it up, and to encourage greater participation. But there's also seen as a view in doing this as a chance to bring people together, to celebrate Scottish culture, heritage, history, but also to celebrate Scottish diversity, to celebrate our international connections across the Scottish diaspora, and indeed to celebrate the immense contribution that all new Scots make. And I refer to the range of members within the group. There is an international component. St Andrew's Day, of course, is not and St Andrews is not a figure solely celebrated in Scotland, a patron saint of other countries such as Ukraine, and there's a clear interest internationally as well. So in encouraging the celebration of St Andrews Day, it helps to connect Scotland globally and celebrate that shared link. So that will be a key aspect of the group. If I highlight some of the sort of key themes that we would be looking to work on within the group, clearly there's the Winter Festivals programme, which is bookmarked by, bookended rather, by St Andrews Day and Burns Night. There is the Glasgow the Caring City event. This is an event which many will be familiar with the huge congas that occur in Hampden Park and around schools. It's a great opportunity for families and communities and schools to come together, again celebrating Scotland's diversity in an inclusive manner. There is the St Andrews Fair Saturday celebrations. This is a nice counterpoint to Small Business Saturday in some regards, and it's celebrating fairness and communities and diversity. There's a desire to recognise St Andrews Day as a school holiday, and of course, as I've stated previously, promoting Scotland's international connections through St Andrews Day. And I would just conclude by saying that this is a topic and a theme and a cause which has consistently gained and sustained cross-party support across this Parliament since the Act was passed in 2007. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, Tom Arthur. Just before we go on, I should have mentioned, as Tom started speaking, I remembered to turn the sound off on my phone so that I'm not interrupting anything. So if anyone else is in the same position, please do so just now. And then we'll move on to any questions which members may have for Tom Arthur. Yes, Jamie.
Morning, Tom. Can I just ask, I mean, there are two things I wanted to kind of highlight, and one's really a question and one's more of a kind of looking for a solution. There are 104 cross-party groups now, all competing for time, MSP's time, space, etc. How confident are you that people will continue to be able to attend the group going on? Obviously, St Andrew's Day, unlike a lot of the groups, is a specific time of the year, a specific day of the year, and will it be more popular closer to that time rather than perhaps further away? I appreciate a lot of the work's got to be done ahead, but how confident that you'll be able to keep kind of the interest of particularly MSPs in attending and find time for it? Sorry.
Thank you very much. I think that's an excellent question, and it's something I'm aware the committee has been considering for a long time. I would respond by saying there has been a sustained interest in this area. There was the St Andrews Campaign Committee, St Andrews Day Campaign Committee, led by Dennis Canavan, and that has sustained interest in this area both within and out with Parliament for some considerable time. So I feel there's the momentum there. With regards to the second point, clearly there will be a focus of interest around St Andrews Day itself. However, as we're all aware, in preparation for these events and in highlighting them, that is an all-year task. So as well, the St Andrews Day Committee, the Camp CPG, if approved by this committee, would clearly garner more interest in the autumn as we approach St Andrews Day. I believe it would sustain interest throughout the year from those members and communities looking to explore ways in which they can plan for St Andrews Day in their particular areas.
I've got a couple more questions, but Jamie's got a follow-up on
Sorry, it was a second one very quickly. I mean, obviously, cross-party groups are one of the main reasons is to inform MSPs. Is the kind of responsibility of promoting something like St Andrews Day, which I think we'd all agree with, would that not be covered, or could that not be covered by a number of public bodies, including Visit Scotland, Events Scotland, Creative Scotland, etc.? Would you hope to have them involved? Are you looking to kind of create an overarching kind of, I suppose, committee campaign to do that, and does that need to be a cross-party group effectively?
I think, it's a very fair point. Clearly we want the group to be as diverse and inclusive as possible, and we'll look to reach out to these bodies. But part of the purpose of the group is in allowing a range of stakeholders who perhaps wouldn't have directly that access and contact to come together, and it gives communities and the grassroots an opportunity to contribute ideas and to share their vision of how St Andrews Day could be celebrated. So as well as having that campaigning purpose, it provides a forum for the generation of ideas and approaches towards St Andrews Day.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Jimmy. Maureen Watt and then Tom Mason, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Convener. Good morning, Tom. You've got an impressive list of non-MSP members of the group, and when you were introducing this topic, you mentioned a lot of the Winter Festival programme, which I think is a bit kind of Central Belt centric. So what I would be looking, and I'm absolutely in favour of this group. It's a pity that we have to have one that St Andrew's Day is not celebrated more within our own country, and the work that Dennis Canavan has done on this really does need to be taken forward to the next level. But what steps will you take to make sure that this is a truly national festival and not just perhaps Glasgow-centric or Central Belt-centric?
I think, again, it's a very good question and a very fair point. I think there's two aspects to that. There's the work of the cross-party group and itself, and then there's the ideas and forwards that it promotes. Clearly, with cross-party groups meeting most often and most commonly in Edinburgh, that can present challenges of accessibility for those from rural communities, be that in the borders of the north of Scotland or in our island communities. So we would, as a cross-party group, clearly be very open and welcome to exploring means to be as inclusive as possible, whether that be through people being able to dial in to the meetings, or indeed taking the CPG on the road and meeting in other towns and cities. I think that, to an extent, answers the second point, to make St Andrew's Day as national and as inclusive as possible, not concentrated in the central belt. It is vital that we get these voices in these other communities and in the diverse ways in which they may choose to celebrate St Andrew's Day. And the cross-party group provides a forum for many of these individuals and communities and groups right across Scotland to contribute. And in so doing so, they will help to shape the strategy to make St Andrew's Day celebrations more inclusive, that truly reflect all of the rich tapestry of Scotland.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Tom Mason, please.
Yes, thank you. Tom, in some ways you've answered my question, but I'm still a bit concerned that by having a cross-party group, it rather takes the wind out of the possibility of developing all the events and activities for St Andrew's Day more outside, as it is more a make the country do something as opposed to informing the Parliament, because we know what St Andrew's Day is and what can be done. And in fact, in some ways, having a cross-party group, would it not restrict the activities of other people and rather divert the activities of other people and take the power out of them?
It's a fairly made point, and addressing that concern, what I would say is that the CPG is but one tool in the toolbox. It's one of the available options that people have. Communities across Scotland will choose to celebrate St Andrew's Day in their own way, and clearly there will be some thematic commonality right across the country. But what this cross-party group does is providing a forum for the stimulation of ideas for how St Andrew's Day can be celebrated and proposals and strategies to be put forward. It gives communities access to a range of MSPs, and as we all know in our respective constituencies and regions, MSPs can leverage that status to help promote certain outcomes. And I think it was an opportunity for MSPs to become more informed and to become more understanding of how St Andrew's Day is celebrated. And that can be particularly useful. For example, MSPs will, from one part of the country, may be exposed to ideas from another part of the country through the cross-party group that otherwise they would not be. And consequently, they will be able to share these ideas with groups in their own constituency or region, and therefore helping to promote the proliferation of these ideas about how St Andrew's Day can be celebrated, and also, very fundamentally, to encourage networking as well and to build up relationships and contacts.
So how would you measure success? I mean, taking my criticism that it might take the authority out of other organisations, in the end of the day, how would you measure success with the group?
Well, I think there's clearly going to be a grassroots element. This is not going to be simply reliant upon public bodies having officially sanctioned events. This will be about communities, charities, the third sector and various other organisations coming together, both within their communities and nationally, to work together. In terms of the how we would measure success, that's a key question. Clearly, we are now almost 12 years on from the passing of the St Andrew's Day Holiday Act. So I think success could be measured across a number of ways. It could be measured by how many public bodies and businesses recognise and use the St Andrews Day holiday. It can be measured by the number of events taking place. And I think more generally it can be measured by public perception and attitudes towards St Andrews Day, and how that is for businesses perhaps who don't celebrate St Andrews Day by taking a holiday. Do they have thematic events? In a way, for example, if we think about our bar and restaurant sector, who will often give a great deal of attention to St Patrick's Day, perhaps one indicator, just for example, would be that level of attention being paid to St Andrews Day. So in terms of any thematic events that occur within businesses, as well as businesses actually taking use of the holiday, would be one indicator, for example, of an uptake of interest in the St Andrews Day holiday.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the questions. Can I just ask one myself, please, Tom? Would you consider, should the group be passed, would you consider that success would be that the group would no longer be required to be there because you'd actually passed the baton on to all these other groups in society, so that they were actually doing this without having to be prompted?
I think that's an excellent point, Convener, and I would agree wholeheartedly. That will be the ultimate measure of success for the endeavours of this group and those across Scotland who want to promote St Andrews Day to the level of recognition that it truly deserves.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Any other questions at all? No. Well, thank you very much, Tom Arthur, and thanks for attending. The committee will consider whether to approve the application for a St Andrews Day cross-party group, and we'll inform you of the decision thereafter. Thank you very much. Okay, right, so agenda item 4, as you will see on your agenda, we'll have a discussion in terms of whether to accord recognition to the proposed cross-party group on St Andrews Day. And does anyone have any comments they would like to make whether the group should be brought into existence? Gil Patterson.
Yeah, I did pose a question myself, but my observation is clearly there's a need to promote St Andrews Day. I don't think there's any question about it, that and the work that is needing to be done. And I can't think of a body out there that would take this on board and run with it and give it the energy and the exposure that it needs. And I've got a lot of time for Dennis Canavan himself and the way that he's proceeded so far. It's been a long shift for him, but I do believe there is a need for it. It's not a one-day event that we're talking about here. It's all the work leading up to that one-day event, and it's getting into the Scottish psyche. I think that to celebrate the achievements in Scotland, and maybe recognising some of the things that's not just as things that you would highlight normally. There's always that makes a country. But I would fully support it and wish it well.
Okay, thank you, Gil. Jamie, please.
Yeah, I think the point you made at the end there, Convener, was very apt, that actually the success of this group will be that this group doesn't need to exist in the future. I think there probably are bodies, I mean, Event Scotland was one of the ones I mentioned, that probably should be doing or could be doing more with this, but you know, until we get to that stage that it is promoted a bit more, I have no issues with the group going ahead.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, Jamie. Okay, members, do we agree that the St Andrews Day cross-party group should be allowed to continue? Yeah.
On balance, yes.
On balance. Thank you very much. Okay, it's on the record. Right, and that's that passed, and we will inform Mr Arthur about the decision there. And thank you very much indeed. So now we'll move into a private session, and I'll let all the members of the public who have gathered